Welcome to I've Always Wanted to Watch That, a spin off podcast from the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. I'm Justin. In this podcast, I get the pleasure of talking to fellow cinephiles to discuss their love of movies, along with reviewing a film at least one of us has always wanted to check out. In this episode, I welcome Ronen, who's a big time animation fan, and he reached out to our podcast, and I can't wait to talk more movies with him. He recommended the 1995 Japanese anthology film Memories. Some good conversation to be had there with those provocative films. Welcome to the show, Ronan. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came across the Average Joes?
Thank you for having me. I'm 22 years old, a big movie guy. It's pretty much my life, in a way. How I came across you guys was I found you, Justin, through Letterboxd.
Okay.
Thought you wrote the reviews pretty well. I like the more professional written reviews, in a way.
Okay, so the hot take style. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate that.
And found you guys. Decided to, try and get, I guess, someone to talk about my list in a way, since I guess, I'm not super big on Letterboxd, but it is my most liked list. Well, you'll see. You'll see when we get to it.
Cool. So I got a few movie questions for you. You got a few movie questions for me. I guess we can just kind of back and forth, get to know each other a little bit. I guess I can start, break the ice. So what would you say is your favorite current animation studio?
Mm, do you want me to go Western or anime?
It's totally wide
Because,
open.
all
I
right.
guess you can split it up if
Yeah.
if that's the way you want to answer it. I mean, it's totally up to you.
Uh, I think my favorite ever is still Ghibli,
Sure.
because their track record is just so good. And even the ones that are considered a bit misses are still very good in my opinion.
Hmm.
And the ones that are great, some of the all-time greats. As for Western, though, that's a bit more tricky, I would say. Maybe it's, I think I could say Pixar, because again of the track record thing. But if I didn't pick a studio, then it would be I have some very specific examples, I guess. It very much depends on the day, I guess.
What's your top
But
couple
overall,
Pixar and Ghibli films?
yeah.
What are your top favorites in both Ghibli and Pixar?
Uh, Favorite Ghibli movie.
Hmm.
I can't do it five, but we'll keep it short to one. My favorite Ghibli movie is Totoro. It's one of the only ones I saw in theaters,
Okay.
and it just has such a magic atmosphere to it.
Hmm.
It's really just lovely. Favorite Pixar movie is actually Soul, which
Okay.
isn't maybe everyone's favorite,
Hmm. Fairly new.
because yeah, I think thematically it's just so much more adult
Sure.
than a lot of animated stuff,
Hmm.
and it's very rich. Animation is great, obviously, but
Hmm.
it's probably their most adult work, which is much appreciated.
I can see that for sure. Awesome. For me, Ratatouille has always been my go-to in Pixar, and with Ghibli, I've seen Spirited Away the most, and I've seen Spirited Away on the big screen, which was pretty cool. But man, there was something about Howl's Moving Castle that got me the first time, and I really need to check it out again. But yeah, I went through all the Ghibli movies right before going on Letterboxd back in 2017. So I need to rewatch those and maybe come up with kind of a ranking and all the sort. So
Ratatouille is a childhood classic of mine. I think I watched it in theaters, and both Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle I haven't watched in years, so maybe rewatch one day. But there is Earwig and the Witch, which is the last Ghibli movie at the moment, which
hmm.
mm, sadly is their worst movie, but
Oh
they
no.
tried. It's their first attempt with computers.
Hmm.
Yeah, didn't end well, sadly.
Did you have a movie? Did you have a question for me you wanted to hit back with next?
Um, all right. Your favorite decade in movies, and which one was the one with the most quality or the most iconic stuff?
Joey and I tackled
Very
this
tough.
question a little bit in the show, so maybe I'll revisit it a little bit here. Because it was funny, he brought up his letterbox list of like it kind of shows like what your like pattern is compared to the decade it came out, and we came up with the fact that we had a lot of 50s and 60s in there, and it's just because we go back and watch like the all-time best movies from those decades, so you do end up with kind of a skewed things because you're not watching the crap. I mean, we watch modern crap, not so much crap from the 50s. At least that's not what my bag is. I would lean really into the 90s, I guess, like kind of the more
All right.
artsy side of the late 90s is really what I think sparked my passion for film. Um, like the first time I saw Fight Club as a middle schooler, like that twist at the end just totally like broadened my horizon. And then, I mean, The Matrix was there, but I was kind of in like, oh, The Matrix is overrated crowd at first. But you got Big John Malkovich, American Beauty. I mean, so many cool artsy stuff going on in the late 90s that I really cling to.
Uh, I think again, it's a really tricky question because like each decade brought its own iconic stuff in a way, but like if I'm looking at like pure quality, like how does uh, the best ones from all decade still age? I think it's either between the 60s and the 50s because like stuff like 12 Angry Men, Sunset Boulevard from the 50s, a lot of Hitchcock stuff, and stuff from the 60s like Mary Poppins, Sound of Music, still all-time classics to this day.
Hmm.
And of
And then you
course
get
there are
and
stuff
then you
from
get the counterculture of the 70s, which is a whole other gritty kind of thing to dig into, which is fun.
Godfather, Alien, Exorcist, a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I think like the earlier decades definitely had their quality streak. As for the 2000, but like it's hard because 2010s is the decade that I watched the most
Mhm.
stuff, and it had a lot of quality stuff too. But like in terms of stuff that will really be remembered, it's really more of the older stuff, I would say.
But it's hard to judge
But who
too, because
knows?
I mean
Maybe
the older stuff is already being remembered to where we don't know what the the cult effect of more modern pieces are. So,
more modern stuff.
mhm. And it's crazy. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
time just flies. I'm 37 now, so I remember 20 years ago watching certain movies, and it feels like it was yesterday. So we'll see how it all kind of pans out as time rolls along. So how often do you get to watch movies, and what's your process for reviewing them?
Uh, just in reply to what you said, it feels really weird that it's 2023. It
Yeah.
part of it doesn't seem real,
Hmm.
honestly. Uh, okay, favorite movie, probably because of nostalgia, but it's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part Two
Oh, okay.
because it's like it's the franchise that I grew up with. Like everyone had their Star Wars and the stuff they grew up with. For me, it was Harry Potter. I was at the right age for it. It's what got me into fantasy. It felt like, and the idea of seeing the actors grow up before your face, which is such a rarity. It's like the closest thing to magic, pun intended. And Deathly Hallows Part Two, may say what you will about, since it's a part two, it kind of you kind of need part one to watch it together to have the whole story. But part two, I think, also stands on its own, and it works as a great finale because it literally gives the happy ending. It gives the most satisfying things. I actually listened to the book about 2 years ago. Yeah, I guess I was the movie before the book kind of guy, and like
Same here.
then I rewatched then I rewatched it for like my birthday about 2 years ago, both parts, and to see the differences in certain scenes. Maybe the book did some of it better, but as far as book loyalty, it's still very good. And as a movie, it's the best one in the franchise, in my opinion, at least. It has the best epic feel of it, of all of the movies, in my
Hmm.
opinion, because it's the final one, so it has to be the biggest one.
Yeah, I would agree
But
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
that last part there is very satisfying with the how it's this big like siege on Hogwarts, and I would argue like Deathly Hallows Part One. It's a little It's not that it's convoluted. It's a little bit of a slog because I don't know, it throws so much story at you. It really wasn't until my third or fourth watch of it where a lot of like what was actually happening was starting to sink in rather than just kind of being slogged down by some of the internal drama of it. And you're saying Deathly Hallows Part 2 is like one of your favorite films is okay.
At the moment, it's my favorite. I was going to say about part ones that since it is a different tone, they're on the run. It's a very different tone, more slow paced, more character based, less magic. So it has a more somber tone.
Hmm.
Obviously, after the end of Half Blood Prince, where I won't spoil it for anyone who didn't either watch it or read the book.
Um
But if you did, you know what happened.
okay. Actually it's cool that you answered that question. Actually the question was how often do you get a chance to watch movies and how do you tend to review them?
All right. I don't log rewatches on Letterboxd. I only do first time watches.
Oh,
As
well then you
far
can't build your diary.
as
I love my diary.
no, I just don't rewatch a lot of stuff. I just don't rewatch a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Uh, as for how many, I think it depends. It's either like I'm too tired on a normal day, but on a free day, I actually get to the maximum I would say is 2 to 3 per day on a free day. But there
Ooh,
have been some cases where it was like
nice.
for like last year I was trying to get the number of stuff I watched to a nice rounded number to start the year. So I think on the last days of 2022, like December 30th, maybe, I was really trying hard to get to the round number. So I watched like 7 in one day.
Oh wow. That's a lot.
But yeah, but I did it. I go by a strategy of shortest to longest to like fit the most in a day,
Gotcha.
which
Um,
helps.
so you're from Israel, right?
Correct.
And how is like in terms of the new releases? Is it pretty timely whenever y'all get them, or
Um, to be, I mean, we do get most of the new releases, but there are some cases of, for example, uh, foreign animated stuff gets automatically dubbed here.
okay?
For example, like automatically dubbed it to Hebrew, which a tiny bummer because you don't get to the original language. But anyway, we do get most of the new releases, but like for example, um, with streaming, we don't have that many services. We have Netflix, Apple, and Amazon, and now Disney Plus, which Disney Plus isn't working great here, to be fair. Not
Oh,
working great.
okay.
But because some of those services like HBO Max and the Hulu don't exist here, some of those either get theatrical releases or they probably just go straight to VOD.
Okay.
Like I remember the Hulu movie Deep Water with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas that got a theatrical release here, but it's still a rarity. I do remember this one case of like the end of uh 2020 when when theaters started to open up again and they would show all of the stuff that couldn't show before because the theaters were closed, but like I watched it through the internet already, so no point for me to go to the theater to watch it. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like Soul, Wonder Woman 1984, all bunch of other stuff. And like, yeah, we do sometimes get delays, but we do like if it's a big movie, we either get it with most of the world or either a bit later or earlier. Actually, with a recent example, Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish, I think we got it here about a week early
Oh, cool.
compared to the US.
Hmm.
A week or two earlier, yeah, which is
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, we where I'm at, I'm not the biggest, I would say, like cinephile community. I mean, we're kind of general, just metropolis kind of area, Charleston, South Carolina. So we get, the major blockbusters and stuff. But when it comes to like the limited release stuff that might be some like the Oscar darlings and stuff, usually it takes a little longer to get here. I've been liking the fact that, yeah, since the pandemic, we do get a lot more streaming opportunities, which is very much more convenient for me since I got three kids, so it's kind of hard to get to the theater with
Oh,
under those circumstances sometimes. But we make do, and I still try to watch at least one movie a day. I wish it were more, but only so many hours, right?
if only we had all the free time.
A
If
little
only.
magical
But
watches
yeah,
that
we
could
do
freeze
get most
time.
that too. But like, yeah, we do get most of the major releases from awards stuff too, the major blockbusters and such. But I think one thing is that depending on like how many people go to one thing, it's like it can either just it's like show up for one day and then find another theater to watch it because like no people are showing up for the movie, so it's like or just really shove it to later showings, like really like 10 p.m. for example. Like I think with the menu, for example, I got to watch it at a theater at like 5 5 p.m. I think. And then like a couple days later it I think because of Avatar it got shoved to 10 which is
Oh,
like that is like not a reasonable hour to go watch a movie in a theater,
okay.
especially that movie too, which get to it if you didn't watch it.
Yeah,
It's
it's still on my
one
list.
of my favorites.
Oh, cool.
One of my favorites of 2022.
Oh, high praise. All right. You have any other questions for me?
Uh oh wait, I didn't answer about the reviews thing. Didn't
Okay.
answer yet.
Yeah. So, what's
Yet.
your habit for
And then okay,
reviews?
fine. To be fair, there are some times where I'm not reviewing as much as I want to because like it's either watching stuff or doing some other thing. But and I don't want to try and review everything I see because when I started writing them, I thought, what can I say here? A, what can I say here that hasn't been said already? And B, like if I make it into about everything I watched, some of it includes from years ago, and like I don't have a lot to say at the matter of the point. So when I try to review something, it's usually something that I really feel like I can say something.
Okay, that's fair.
As for the length, it honestly depends. Some of my early ones are like one paragraph, I think. And then depending on and some of them still are, but depending on the movie, some of them can be mildly okay length or just some of them just really long, which I don't know, I feel like it gets the best point across in a way. Yeah, you make the reader read a lot, but it does get the point across in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Oh yeah, all kinds of different styles. I've gone short, I've gone long. But ultimately, yeah, and it takes a lot of practice to, especially, and I've gotten at points where I watch several kinds of movies in a row, and I'm just like, gosh, I'm so tired of writing about '90s kids sports movies at this point. But yeah, yeah, I'm kind of a writer by trade, so I like to get all my thoughts out there, and but yeah, it's neat to hear how others approach it.
Movie that like is either an awards favorite or a critical darling that you just couldn't get into for whatever reason.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Pretty wide open there. Let's see here. What's something that maybe that won the Oscar that I was just not on board with? Hmm. Let's see. Break up a little list here of recent Oscar winners just to spark my
Memory.
yeah. All right. So
By the way, we do have extended time, or is it still the 2 hour thing?
I have a hard cut off at one my time, but we'll play it by ear.
Uh, no, 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 it's okay. I'm available for a couple more hours. It's okay.
Okay. So winners and nominees from 2022. Oh, it was Coda one. That was kind of a strange. Like I appreciated what the movie was doing. It was very much a representation kind of deal. So I didn't mind Coda. Let's see. List of recent Oscar winners. Do you have an answer
I
while
really,
I'm?
really,
You have an answer in mind while I'm kind of scrounging around here?
actually really loved Coda. Really,
Okay.
really liked it. Uh, it's actually an American remake of a French movie, and me and my mom watched the French one sometime later. Not a good movie. The French one, not good. Really, not a, like the American one is much better, much
Okay.
better.
I will look.
As for oh, sorry, go.
In my well, the artist I struggled with a lot because like I got at the time that oh is this kind of this cool gimmicky like throwback to the silent era, but then you watch it and it's like you're not singing in the rain. This isn't working for me. I just the gimmick just got too much of itself, and I just didn't like how it turned out. So artist would probably come to is definitely an answer for me there.
The artist from 2011.
Hmm. I
I
know a
actually
lot.
liked it quite a bit.
I know a lot of people are on board with the
Yeah.
doggy. Hmm.
I think an answer for mine, and like including nominees. Okay, like I'm including nominees both with the winners. Honestly, because my ranking of Oscar stuff has them combined, so I honestly don't remember which one won in what year. Uh, a very hot take, I would say. Mad Max Fury Road.
I agree. Yeah, it's a little overrated.
It's like good action for sure, for sure. Well-made movie.
Phenomenal
I
special
just don't think there's
effects.
a lot of story.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
I
it's
just
a
don't think there's a.
very there and back again kind of story, and you're like, oh, that's it.
It's like a very long car chase. The movie.
Yeah.
There's another one which actually there's two. One of them we'll get to later, but one of them is called. Don't know if you've seen this one. I think it was nominated but didn't win. Uh, do you know of a movie from 1993 called The Piano?
By Jane Campion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that I think last year with Harvey Keitel. It's a pretty solid flick.
Like, I like period dramas. I do. The good ones really are good. But something about this one, like me and my mom watched it. We liked it at first, but the more it kept on, the more the characters just made really weird decisions.
Mm-hmm. You
It
weren't
just
so much
felt
in.
so.
It was kind of a
And
toxic romance kind of thing.
yeah, that and like going and back and forth between Sam Neill and Harvey Keitel. I remember this one scene where Sam Neill's character was like saying she doesn't love him and such, and then like they're about to do something together, which, but then like he retracts the statement, and then it's back to not loving her. It's like make up your mind, make up your mind. Do you like her or do you not? It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. I have some other ones which, like, I could say from the bottom of my ranking, which again, hot takes. The Power of the Dog, again from the same director. Well made, well acted, but story wise, I just don't think it's for me.
Okay. Really enjoyed
Uh,
that one.
The Revenant. The
Okay.
Revenant is one
Okay.
with DiCaprio again, made, but it goes on for way too long.
Uh huh. It's kind of a theme
Um,
developing here.
yeah, a lot of these are really long.
Not
Again,
so
I
much,
could
maybe a little
mention some.
darker in tone too. Not maybe satisfying from a, I guess, things go the way everybody want them to perspective. So yeah, that's interesting. One I'll throw out there. While I enjoyed everything everywhere all at once, I think it's getting a little
Oh,
overhyped in terms of like. I mean, when it came out, everyone was like, "Oh, it's the better Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness," and really, it's kind of a
and
Matrix clone that throws everything at the wall, which is a lot of fun to watch. But I don't know, it like saying that it's this multiverse film is a little bit of a stretch to me. I think you can say something's a multiverse with it, actually not having as much backing to it as what I think people want it to, if that makes any sense.
uh, oh, I actually really, really, really dug the movie because of, it is very creative, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's an understatement.
Very creative, weird, but in an interesting way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the relationship between them is very, very emotional, I would say. Yeah, for certain people, maybe it's a bit too much, which I can see. I
Hmm.
actually got a DVD copy of it from the movie store in the used section
Okay.
because I guess someone sold it. Uh, But yeah, that one I can see it may be a bit too much. But I think for people like me, it kind of fit just right.
Okay. I think it just got a little too overhyped for me. Whenever you're expecting the world and, you just get an entertaining movie, sometimes it just doesn't sit as well as it could have if you discovered it maybe before, everybody proclaimed it was the best thing ever.
Not my favorite of the year, but it's still pretty up there, I think. I think it's what
I think the actors
in the
just picked up Golden Globes. I didn't even realize the Golden Globes was last Sunday. So I have to start narrowing
yeah,
down, um, watching
yeah,
some of the
never
top.
cared that much.
Say that
Sorry,
again?
never cared that much.
Understandable.
I don't care that much about award shows, but I do like even the Oscars. It's just usually just seeing the list of the winners
Hmm.
at these times. But still, congrats for them. And it's nice for the one who played the husband to get some recognition again because I think he was the kid in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's correct.
My favorite, yeah, my favorite Indiana Jones movie, by the way.
Ooh,
That one,
a little bit of a hot take
Temple of
there.
Doom.
Hmm. All right, what's something you would say you're watching a movie and something that instantly like gets you invested? Like personally, like whenever all of a sudden like Russian history or something pops up in a movie, I'm like, ooh, I want to hear more. Or oh, the list goes on and on. But yeah, what's something in a movie that will instantly just get you sucked in because of the topic?
Does it have to be related to the plot?
No, just you're just watching it, and this certain kind of thing happens, and ooh, this is your jam.
Hmm. I think a lot of it is to do with the general idea of a movie. It also very much depends on the movie. Uh, I think it's either how it's made, if it's well made, well written, and such. Although there are some cases of it not working for me, or if it's just a director I really like. For for uh, for example, I watched The Fablemans in theaters Spielberg,
Hmm.
Spielberg's movie,
Yeah.
and I think what was so well done in that movie is from the start you see why he loved it, why he loves movies. It's done so well, and yeah, it also gets into the more when does like knowing you want to do this for the rest of your life versus the parents who make it more of a hobby,
Hmm.
but the love is just captured very well, in my opinion. So it really depends on the movie, but I think if it if it's either well made, well written, or it sounds interesting, I'll take it. I'll give it a try and see if I like it. I guess. I mean, it's the same for every movie in a way. See what interests you, and then see the final result, and then
Hmm.
you decide. It's your opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the first movie that got you thinking of film more as an art than just has to be entertainment?
Ooh, to be. Ooh, that is a really tough one. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the stuff I watched is kind of a hazy memory because I've been watching stuff for years, like years. So a lot of the stuff I watched is a bit is a bit hazy. I'll give it that. It's a bit hazy. Uh, but I think hmm, is it okay if I give like a general answer instead of the first one because I just can't remember?
Sure, whatever works.
Uh, all right. It's okay. You know what? Let me do this. Let me give an animated one and then not animated one to make it more interesting.
Okay.
Animated one, I'm going with something called Song of the Sea
Okay.
from 2014. It's just a very pretty movie. It's it's very it has a very rich family story, but the animation is just really great. Really great stuff. As for not animated though, oh, okay, this one okay, this is a very recent one on Netflix. All Quiet on the Western Front. You seen it, or at least
I haven't seen the
saw
new
the
one
Netflix
yet.
page?
Yeah, I see that. I saw that it was there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in German. It's a German remake. That movie is the the hardest movie I've ever watched at the time of currently saying it. Yeah, it's really hard to watch, but you,
From a
it like if
violence
you know the
perspective.
story, you know. Yeah, it's just never stopping really with the because it also portrays the horrors of war
Yeah.
incredibly well. It does it very well, and the some of the shots, the cinematography is excellent. So, like off the top of my head, I think I could say that one. But in general, like it's easier to pick an animated one because like it is very visual. So they have a more artistic approach in a way, I guess.
Okay. More creative, possibly.
Depends. Depends.
Okay.
Yeah, your answer.
What's that for me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, like I mentioned earlier, Fight Club. That was one of the pivotal ones. Some of the early Charlie Kaufmans, like being John Malkovich, adaptation. So yeah, again, falls back into that late '90s where things were getting artsy. I love discovering the Fargo and the Coen Brothers, like Tarantino stuff. So there's just some basic answers in there, but that's me. Not basic, but I
Like I
love
could
that.
say I can say my own opinions about some of the stuff I've seen from these directors, but that's for another day, I think.
Cool. Any movie pet peeves? Is there anything that'll make you just stop watching altogether, or will you fight through it?
To be fair, I even when I despise something, I still watch to the end.
Good.
It's like I know some people can say it's a bit torturous, but like to me, it's like both saying that I watched it to the end and thinking maybe there's something worth it at the end. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I
I have
I
the exact
think
same approach.
yeah, I think a pet peeve of mine mm, is that it's either too pretentious or just boring or just well bad in general. Like two recent examples from this year, which again, hot take on one, but not that much of the other. Uh, have you seen Triangle of Sadness?
No, that doesn't even. I'm not sure if I've even heard of that one.
It's an English debut movie from a Norwegian director, I think. Another one that got a lot of critical acclaim and awards buzz. And like when I watched it, for some reason I just didn't feel that interested. It's supposed to be like a satire on the rich,
Oh, you taught is that called the?
but like
I thought that was called. That's ringing a bell for a movie called I think The Square or something. Um.
I think that's the same guy. I think that's the same director.
Oh, okay. Maybe different movies, same director. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and like I didn't really spot any satire. I just wasn't really that interested in like I don't know following these people because they weren't that interesting to me.
Okay.
And and yeah, like the bad movies is like another thing. I think sometimes an answer is like if it's really disappointing. It's like there's one thing that you find really great, and the rest of it is like either average or just not there. And it's like why did I waste my time with it? I guess. But yeah, again, I think. Oh, actually, I think maybe I have one. When let's say you bring back something that has been dead for a while, and then you bring it for a new movie or a new something in it, and then it's like done so badly to the point where like why did you have to ruin it? Like why did you have
Hmm.
to make it to dig it out of the grave and make it into even more of a corpse? I would say that's what happened with Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, which I think is one of my least favorite movies of 2022 because I liked the previous ones, even though Collision Course maybe went a bit too far, but I still don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is.
Okay.
But Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, which by the way I did notice that it is your next one since you watched all of them.
Yep. Recently.
Like the trailers did not do a good impression, and the movie itself was just it felt like a TV pilot to a TV series. The animation was cheap. It was just cheap.
Hmm.
Really bad movie. Really bad movie. And they moved the focus of the main characters besides Buck to the two possums. Like Eddie and
Oh, those are the
what's his
worst
name?
characters. I don't even remember.
Yeah, yeah. Besides Buck, they're the two main characters
Oh, that's not
for that one.
promising.
So enjoy,
Is there any
enjoy.
Israeli films or films from the Middle East that are particular close to your heart?
To be fair, I actually haven't watched that many movies made here because um most of them I think just don't interest me that much. It's either like it's mostly dramas. So it's either about a war
Mm-hmm.
or something romance or something else. Most of them don't interest me that much. But there is one that I remember from back then that I really liked. And the kind of sad thing, or maybe not fully sad, it's like here in my country, it's one of those cases where most of the movies made here aren't really well known outside of here.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's like even most of the letterbox posters for them are still in Hebrew. So not a lot of well-known stuff outside of here. But there is one called A Matter of Size. That's how they translate it for whatever reason. If I haven't watched it in years, but if I remember correctly, it was basically about a bunch of four really fat guys who decided to become sumo wrestlers. If I remember correctly, it has been a really long time. It's from 2009. But one of, I think, the rare cases where I really liked a movie that was made here. That one was really good.
Okay. Um.
But again, not really well known outside of here, so bit of a bummer. I mean, we actually don't. Oh, sorry for cutting you all the time, by the way. Um, we used to have movies and DVDs and such translated to Hebrew here, like the boxes translated to Hebrew, but it stopped actually around 2018, I believe here, because I think the seller at the movie store just said it's not profitable anymore to translate stuff here.
Okay, that's an
I
interesting.
mean, even stuff that comes out here, yeah, even stuff that comes out here, it's like it doesn't get a physical release anymore. It just goes straight to VOD, to cable.
Are you big into collecting movies?
Yeah, I would say so. My collection is pretty big, although now I am doing a bit of a cleanup, tiny cleanup, but still a cleanup. Uh, I believe it is over the 2000 number
Oh,
at this point.
that's pretty
But
impressive.
most mostly more, yeah, thank you. Mostly more DVDs than Blu-rays, but
Okay,
oh well. I
nothing
mean,
wrong with
some of
that.
it is
Movie's a
years old.
movie. Oh yeah. What's your favorite movie to recommend to your somebody you just met?
Ooh, ooh,
Maybe
that is tricky.
maybe like a hidden gem that you have in your back pocket and it's not too well known, but it's a banger.
To be fair, it is easier to know the person more before you recommend something out of the blue, because
Sure.
like you don't know if he'll like this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if I would have to, if I would have to pick one, ooh, that is a really hard one. That is a hard one. Uh, do you have any examples of what you did in the past?
In college, I used to like to recommend The Cube. It's kind of this fun, like horror sci-fi thing where they're all stuck in a cube, and you get this kind of like microcosm of like society where they're all battling to figure out, what how they should escape the situation. And I found it fascinating because I would, have different college friends come over and watch it, and they would relate to different characters like I had no connection with whatsoever. So I had fun recommending and watching that with a few different kinds of people and seeing their reactions. Most recently, I recommended it to Joey, and he wasn't about it at all. So that was unfortunate. But The Cube, that's an interesting kind of low budget science fiction horror that I definitely like to spread around when I can. Never did see the sequel, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there are a couple. Again, to be fair, it is a really hard one because like you do you do kind of need to know what the people you met, what the person you met is into and not into.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of needing to have a general, like a very general pick.
Agreed.
Yeah. And if it's also something that they didn't watch, which is also again a very tricky one.
Sure. So you'll take a pass on this, you think? Okay.
Mm,
No.
I pass on I pass on the question. Uh, mm,
Up to you.
no, I'm just looking at Letterboxd to like see.
Oh, okay,
if I can
spark
come
him
up
up.
with an answer.
Mm-hmm. You have any questions for me in the
Uh,
meantime while you're looking?
uh, yeah. I mentioned films that you don't like that got a lot of uh, critical doors, critical.
Praise, yeah.
Uh, yes, and let's do the opposite. Movies that were not received I, either received awful reviews or just okay ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you liked it a lot more than they, or at least liked it a bit.
Mm-hmm. An interesting one is I'll always defend Paul Haggis's Crash. A lot of people look at that and see it's pretentious, like racial baiting stuff. But I mean, if you really watch it, you kind of see how a lot of it's an exaggeration of what does really happen, and I find parts of it quite emotional. There's kind of a strange character moment towards the end that I found, but even in rewatching it, like a lot of people say, man, this doesn't hold up at all. This is the by far the worst Oscar winner ever. But I do still have an appreciation for what it's doing and how it kind of addresses these things. It's not perfect. Some parts are pretty melodramatic. I think the scene that ended up on one of the covers, there's this Latino family that thinks they're in the middle of some. It's kind of a bait and switch, but it's a very emotional moment, and you're like, oh, you kind of tricked us there. But so Crash is one that comes to mind. Let me see if there's any others.
I mean, to be fair, I think I actually didn't watch it myself, but I will one day. I think the reason why it got that, like, besides people's opinion on the movies, like, because I think most people just thought most of the other nominees were just better
Yeah,
that
in
year.
rewatching Brokeback, the art, the level of artistry in that, I definitely didn't give it enough credit the first time. So retrospectively, although I still like Crash, it's fair that maybe it should have been Brokeback's year, especially with how important that movie was. Um, Overrated films. Like I think we were mentioning all that
I,
jazz. Oh, go ahead.
yes.
So all that.
No, I was going to mention one. Sorry. I was going to mention one, and all that jazz is. We'll tie it into a separate question. We'll tie it into another one.
Okay.
But there are two. Um, oh, sorry. I keep cutting it all the time. Sorry.
No, it's totally not normal for
Uh,
two people talking the first time. All I wanted to say with all that jazz is like I was really expecting to dig that movie because I'm kind of a performance theater kind of person, but I was just not on board with Ray Schneider's character at all as kind of this womanizer. And I think the point of the movie is that although he's an asshole, he's brilliant, and you come to love him. But I never came to love him, and I thought his ongoing fever dream of an ultimate show while his heart's failing and he's not listening to everybody and he's being a big old asshole just kind of dragged out and was kind of painful. So all that jazz, probably have to rewatch it again just to see if it was kind of the mood I was in, but just didn't work with me. How about you?
yeah, the the framing device for that one is a bit weird. It did take me a while to figure out what the whole the stuff between the plot what was that.
Mm-hmm.
As for the movie itself, I mean, it is the point to make you like him, even though he does terrible things. He's good in the movie. He's good in the movie,
Oh yeah, he's a great
but
actor.
as far as the character goes, it is, I think, very dependent on the person. Um, I think my answer for, like, I was going to mention two overrated films and two underrated films. The underrated ones are actually from the same franchise,
Okay.
but I'll just get it out of the way first. The two overrated ones. One is Wings of Desire from 87.
Wings of
Yeah,
Desire. That's by German guy.
German movie.
Yeah, I've seen Wings of Desire. Who's that by that? I've seen a couple of his movies.
When Wenders.
Oh, Vim
Wim
Vendors. Yep.
Wenders.
Okay.
Yeah. My one, how to say it? I know it has a lot of high praise, but I honestly was really bored. I was just bored by that movie.
Yeah, it's a
I
pretty
was
artsy
just
one with the whole idea of talking to angels or whatever it is. Okay, that's an interesting take.
I don't know. I felt like the angels just did nothing in the movie. They were just like I get it if they were there to observe, but they did practically nothing.
Hmm. Okay.
So, um, and the other one, I really feel like we're veering off subject, um, because another one popped in my head, which may be again a hot take. One is 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Visually impressive for the time, very well done for the time, but still an utter bore for me.
How many
Really
times have you
couldn't
only
make it to
seen it
the
the one
I'm
time?
sorry. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in rewatching it.
It's
I'm just
it's
really not.
it's a
It just
grower, not a
isn't for
shower.
me.
Yeah, it's one that really you got to kind of age with. How long ago did you see it the first time?
Oh, let me check. I'll talk about my other one while I check the other one.
Okay.
The other one, another sci-fi movie actually.
Uh huh.
Uh, Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, okay.
The first one is really good. The first one is really good. The second one, it started interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it just got boring. It went on for way longer than it needed to be.
That's
It did not
understandable.
need to be that long.
It's a bit
And
anticlimactic too.
some, and some of the characters honestly just felt wasted. Like Harrison Ford, Jared Leto didn't even barely did anything in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's I don't know. It's another one that is just that is a disappointing sequel,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Very great looking movie, great
2001 was
atmosphere, but yeah, I can see what you're getting at there with it being a little stretched out for sure.
yeah 2001. My watch was on December 20th, 2019. So it has been a couple of years, but I don't know. I'm not interested in checking it out again. I'm just
Do you like any Kubrick films?
Shining. I like Full
Okay.
Metal Jacket. Like it quite a bit, even though the beginning did kind of bring some memories with
Oh, I
the
bet.
cutting the hair.
Uh huh.
Ugh.
Oh goodness.
That was a good one. Clockwork Orange is a good one. A good one
Okay.
too.
So you
Lolita.
like him in general? Just okay. The sci-fi. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see. I've spent many a time talking to folks about 2001, so I can definitely understand your opinion. And like I said, it's just kind of one that like because first watched it in high school and I was just like, oh, that was strange. But then I watched it again in college with a guy who was like kind of explaining the whole like he had like read the book and knew it all about the Star Child and stuff and recommended the sequel, and so that brought some more context into it. And then I watched it again when I finally got on Letterboxd, and I was kind of looking at every little detail and listening to different interpretations, and it became a lot of fun. So that's kind of my experience with it. But we really should get into the feature soon. But before we do that, did you want to talk a little bit about your huge list of your animated films?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll keep the all the stuff that we didn't get to another time,
Sure. Yeah.
if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Um.
Maybe you can
Oh,
come
okay.
on with
Wait. Before we
Joey
get
and
to the
I for the larger cast sometime, and well, that might be a little challenging to schedule. It's interesting. I'm kind of doing. Normally I do this at night, and it is open ended, but kind of squeezing you in the day. So, but yeah,
um.
tell me about your list.
Yeah. Just going to answer the underrated one before we get into
Of course.
final one. Final one.
Okay.
Underrated ones that get too much flack for the same franchise. X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I will always defend those two. They're I like them. I like both of them. Yeah, they have their problems,
Mm-hmm.
but they're solid movies.
Mm-hmm.
At least like Dark Phoenix, fine. It's maybe a bit iffy on the villain side. Maybe a bit too dark for its own good. Same for Apocalypse. Maybe not a great villain, but the rest of it is still really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good
I like
action in those
both.
movies.
I like to think that at the moment on Letterboxd, Dark Phoenix is the lowest rated out of all of them, even more than
Part
Origins
three
of
should.
Wolverine. It's like, come on.
Oh, part three is definitely the worst of
Like,
the
no,
bunch.
it's not that bad. Even Origins I don't fully hate. Yeah, the last act is not good, but the rest of it is mildly watchable.
Did you ever see
At least for
New
me. I'm a
Mutants?
very yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Okay.
Actually, it's different. It's very different. I mean, to be fair, I am very forgiving. So,
Okay.
but yeah, X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, not bad movies in the slightest, in my opinion.
Okay.
All right. So, as for the ranking itself,
Yeah.
um, I guess I have an interesting history with this thing. I used to watch animated stuff when I was a kid, obviously, but I think I didn't really start to watch them like a lot until high school, I think.
Okay.
And then I got boxed in 2019,
hmm
2022 is I guess my full fourth year, so that's something. Um, but when I got to it, I realized I think how many I watched, and then like Letterboxd has that kind of effect of like making you want to watch stuff. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
absolutely. Yeah, because it makes it visible to you, it's inside in mind.
It's like the design of the site as well. It kind
hmm
of makes you want to watch stuff. And basically, at the time, I had the rankings like separated by the studios, and then all the ones that didn't fit into it were like just one ranking of made by the notable studios like Disney, Pixar, and such. And I think one time I basically had the idea of trying to combine them all together because I think it's like the same for me with the stuff I did recently, like rank each decade for a movie. I think A, I like to be all inclusive, and B, making the same like yearly list is like a thing that everyone does, and like don't really want to do the same thing that everyone does. It also makes the number of the lists up, and for some reason I have a weird limit at
How
keeping the
many titles does
list.
it have?
For some reason I have a weird list count of maximum 100 public ones.
Oh.
At the moment, with our feature, it's at number 817.
Oh.
Yeah, the number has
Mhm.
ballooned over the years. And basically, I had it studio by studio. Then I tried to combine it all into one because I know that some other members did it. And here's an interesting thing. The order that I did it with basically like had a rows and rows of the same one because like let's see,
Thank you.
ranking such a big number is really really hard, to be fair. So I had them by originally tiers, or since I didn't give ratings at the time, I basically went like the tier system from like uh great, very good, good, and so on and so forth. But it ended up being like row of Disney, row of Pixar, row of Ghibli, stuff like that. And I wanted one day to change the order to make it look a bit more separated, like separate the block a bit more. So essentially, I went to TierMaker, uploaded, redid the list in tiers there. Then I switched over to Letterboxd to separate it there, reorganize it, and now it's reorganized. And now that I decided to give the ratings, I gave up on that system. So now it's like the 5 stars to the absolute bottom. So it's and in my mind, I now think if I ever going to review it or giving a grade, which grade am I going to go with, and then like what I liked with what. And yeah, now I think I am pretty happy with the order. we'll see. It'll probably continue to grow in the future.
Geez, every time I visit my is it my Marvel list or my Pixar list, there's always like a few titles I'm moving up or down. So, gosh, I cannot imagine managing a multiple hundred list like that. So, kudos to you for sticking with it. All right, so let's
Yeah,
get into some memories here, and I always like to talk our, get our film discussion started with a quote. So the only one IMDb had for me though was memories. Memories aren't an escape, which ties in quite nice, at least to the first piece. I'm not sure if memories ties quite into the second two, but here's a little synopsis. So let's get okay. So memories, which is split into three different parts. They're based on mangas from oh geez, I hope
want me to do the names?
sure, yeah, go
If you
for it.
want to, I can make. Or I can read the synopsis from the Blu-ray.
Let me try to tackle it. Okay, so Katsushiro Atamo is the executive producer for Magnet Rose, directed by Studio 4, co-founded by Koji Morimoto, and written by Satoshi Kon. Stink Bomb, directed by Tetsuya Akamura, and written by O- Adamo. Sorry so much for the pronunciation. And Cannon Fodder, written and directed by Atamo. I survived. Gosh, stupid Westerner. Anywho, yeah, let's get into some of our notes for this. So, I would say Magnetic Rose is definitely the most ambitious of the three chapters. I heard it described as kind of a haunted house in space story, and yeah, it kind of brings a lot of emotion and memories of regret and tragedy in. So it's kind of once it all comes full circle, I definitely appreciated it more because I guess it was kind of hard getting into the mystery with with the subtitles. I was kind of watching a little late at night, but I did love when it did finally come around. It has a very aliens feel with instead of the Nostromo getting a distress call, we got the Corona. It's kind of eerie hearing about Corona, and
Yeah.
then we get into the second chapter. But yeah,
Although
opening thoughts on
there,
Magnetic Rose.
there's it's the best one of the three. I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's the only one that actually connects to memories. Do I do kind of wonder why the other ones didn't, but oh well. Animation wise, I would say it is the best one. The music is great. It's made by the same composer who did the music for Cowboy Bebop,
Okay.
which is a very, very well known series. The music there is excellent stuff. Um, I'll admit at first, character wise, it didn't do that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the people on the ship, I mean, they're. I mean, basically what happens. Um, by the way, do we do synopsis for each?
Well, yeah. I kind of have the plot here within my notes. So as we talk through it, we'll kind of jump through the plot. So I guess from a stylistic.
Basic.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to shout out from a stylistic standpoint. I really enjoyed like the wide shots, like flipping back through it. There's this shot where you get these like long columns all down like vertically on the screen, and there's this like huge portrait of our Eva. Which so yeah, the Deep Space Explorers, they find this distress call, so they go into this space rubble, and all of a sudden they appear in like this European like villa for this famous opera
Yeah,
singer. And then as they're
yeah. It's like
wandering through her house, they're like kind of seeing what her tragic story was.
yeah. They're basically what happens is that they get an SOS message from somewhere, and then they get to this. What was it? Some ruined space station in a way. Someplace really in the ruins, in the
Hmm.
wreckage. They get there, and then they go down this elevator with these really big suits. By the way, these suits look a bit uncomfortable. Um, but then the door opens. It's like a ballroom. It's like what?
Yeah.
And then you get holograms of this famous opera singer,
Uh-huh.
and then you get to see what happened with her. And at first, it's maybe a bit confusing because like you don't know if they're seeing ghosts or whatever, because one guy, Miguel, I think, is very much starting to get very much taken with her,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
with whatever is done, and then it
It,
just gets a bit crazy. I guess I would say it is bogged down a bit by the characters on the ship not being as interesting and some technical babble, but oh well.
I kind of saw
No,
it as it's kind of a siren story. So they're out in space. They hear
in
this
a way.
distress call. They check it out, and it's this evil temptress trying to lure her into her fantasy of what her life should have been. And yeah, it's neat to have kind of the sea siren kind of effect within this story. Um, and I got so confused whenever. So there's this really neat scene. They're exploring, and all of a sudden he ends up in like on a stage, and there's an audience. So that was kind of had an eerie feel to it. And then she stabs him, and then we get like a close up of his eye, and I was like a little confused of was that Miguel? Did she kill him yet? Or there's a really cool scene where Miguel like what get told he's like going through this muck, and he like gets smashed by this thing falling from the sky. Um, Basically killing him and trapping him in her memory. And then we're mostly dealing with Hints, I think his name is, as he has a much more
I think.
tragic past that comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, some of it maybe wasn't the clearest thing, but I think some of it was intentional. But yeah, on a technical front, I would say it's the best. It's the most well-made one. The animation is great. Music is great. The atmosphere is just has such a haunting vibe to it.
Sure.
It's like the best one of the three, absolutely.
And then I guess going into his tragedy a little bit. So she tries to kind of manipulate him through images of his daughter, which apparently she died from like falling off a roof or something. Um, One of the best shots I
Unfortunately.
thought was whenever he's having this like memory of sitting down with his wife and daughter having breakfast, and then all of a sudden they turn in like web decay all of a sudden, and that's a really really neat shot. That
Yeah, that's creepy. That's creepy.
and overall, yeah, this was just very emotionally deep with how he's trying to be lured in through his tragic past, and how he deals with that and how that's all visually captured. There's a real I noted like the holograms, they have like this projected look within the nice looking animated movie. So you kind of there's certain times you see images of the evil lady, and they don't look crisp or whatever, but at the same time it was I guess it's meant to be a little haunting because they are artificial. So kind of wrapping my mind around that dynamic, because otherwise I mean it's a gorgeous looking you know short feature.
Yeah, I did think at first that maybe it was ghosts, but no holograms.
And
But yeah, the
then
idea that like oh sorry, um, the idea of her like trying to trap them between in her memories and basically figuring out the whole story of it all. That was it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate what happened to her. That basically because she lost her voice, everyone just started really not liking her. It's like, I mean, what can she do? She lost her voice.
And then, yeah, this dynamic of this daughter is real interesting. Like, I really love the shot where, like, it's like a doorway and a long, like, shadow, or actually light cutting through the shadows. And then there's, like, this little girl, but then she becomes, like, lifeless or, like, even formless. Like, she just kind of crumbles into, like, this, like, deflated balloon, which was very interesting. And I still need to wrap my mind around exactly what they were trying to do there. But, yeah, and it actually the second part is such an uplifting chapter that you almost forget how tragically this ends with the corona getting sucked in, and he dies, and then Heinz just kind of after he rejects the Eva's temptation, he's just off floating in space like the Star Child from 2001.
Yeah, it's the most thematically rich, I think, of the three. It's the best. Okay, some dated CGI shots with the ship, but that's a product of the time. I mean, to be fair, CGI in anime, very spotty track record.
Anime
Most of
is
the time,
so
more
eclectic. It's almost hard to point out what doesn't look good in anime because it's so diverse with what they show you. I mean, there's no like standard. It's all across the board, and that's what makes it so exciting.
yeah, but again, like computer usage in anime is very most of the times it just doesn't well.
It's getting the.
It kind of becomes the worst looking part of the movie in a way.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's for another day.
Stink bomb.
Do you mind if I introduce? Yeah, do you mind if I introduce that one?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Uh, so what happens in this one is basically you have this guy who has it's either a flu or a cold. The box says flu,
Hmm.
but I thought it was a cold. But oh well. Um, Basically he works at a pharmaceuticals company, I think,
Some kind of
and
scientific laboratory. Yeah.
basically what happens is that I think one of the higher ups basically tells him to try an try a medicine.
Well,
That
his
was it.
colleague sees that he's sick and recommends that he take this undiluted drug. And so he's trying to remember,
Yeah,
is it the blue pill with the red bottle or whatever? And so he ends up taking this one. I'll throw it back to you.
no Matrix reference. But by the way, I thought of the
Oh, the
Matrix when
pill.
they said,
Okay. I didn't catch
so,
that. Very good. Mhm.
but that was before the Matrix. So, and maybe unintentional inspiration.
Oh,
Anyway,
I don't know. The Wachowskis and,
basically,
and anime go hand in hand, right?
what happens is that he takes the one of the pills, and after he does, everyone ends up. Was it dead? Everyone died
Hmm.
in his office. Yeah, everyone ends up dead, and you don't really know what actually happens until you see some of the government officials basically saying that this laboratory that he worked in was uh, not hired, basically, wait, hired in a way,
Like
sort of.
they were
Not,
developing like chemical weapons.
yeah, like a bioweapon countermeasure. That's, I actually watched it, finished it like a half hour before we started recording. And basically they say that whatever thing that he took has a side effect that he omits this huge gas cloud that like the gas goes from his body depending on his emotions. But basically, unknowingly, he kills everyone that he comes in contact with because of the gas that he puts out.
Yep.
And like every government official is like trying to well kill him because they want to keep it secret. Obviously, it doesn't
To
happen.
keep
I
the
mean, there
public
was a
safe,
shot
they're
of like
like, don't come near Tokyo. You're a walking disaster. And for some reason, it's not clicking with him.
go back to the mountains and like this shot of so many helicopters
Yeah.
just shooting rockets at the guy. It's like,
That
oh, like
moment in particular reminded me of Rise of Skywalker when we get all the huge sky full of Star Destroyers, kind of same deal. Just ridiculous amount of firepower.
it's like all of this for one guy who doesn't even know what he's doing. And
Hmm.
like, I first I thought it was my least favorite of the three, but I mean I did before I watched the third one.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it's very uplifting because again the guy does end up killing everyone he comes in contact with, even if he doesn't really know why.
Definitely a dark comedy. Yeah.
And I guess yeah, and then the government hires these how do you describe them? The people with the big metal suits.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
kind of
like
like
people who are
it's kind of like a situation room kind of deal, like you would see from like Doctor Strangelove, where they have a round table of military folks trying to figure out what the next move is, and I'd have to kind of go back and see what the dynamic was going on between the Japanese military leader and then the U.S. guy who's a little bit more seems a little more cocky. But yeah, that was a neat
But yeah,
dynamic. Hmm?
yeah,
Um,
those the metallic suits and all,
oh, the
because the
astronaut
people in the
suits there at
military,
the end.
yeah, because even the people with the gas masks, military
Mm-hmm.
people, citizens, whatever, even they can't
Escape.
even they can't breathe when the
Mm-hmm.
guy is around. It's like that's almost really extreme taking it. And then I think my favorite part is the ending because it feels so. It's like oh, it's like minor
Whoopsie.
revenge for whatever. Because yeah, it's like you think that the guy is dead. I thought that the guy was dead, and then they bring someone in the not astronaut suit, the big suit. We'll call it the big suit.
Okay.
They bring him, and
It does
then
say NASA on it.
basically, and then basically you see like everyone's clapping for the guy in the big suit, and then like once he takes the visor off and you see the gas inside it, you see it's like the guy. It's like oh, it's like hello. I didn't think they would bring me here, and then like he starts to get out of the suit and unleashes the gas.
Yeah.
It's like oh damn it. It's like
Womp womp.
yeah, and it just ends. Yeah.
Getting back into the atmosphere portion, I really enjoyed like as soon as like the higher up found out that he took the drug and he's freaking out, and then all of a sudden people like look up at the fan and start sniffing something, and then it cuts to black and he wakes up, and it was very much reminding me of 28 days later, where he wakes up in the hospital and the zombie apocalypse happened without him, but in this case his stench killed everybody without him. So
To me, it kind of reminded me of Contagion, which
okay.
is a Steven Soderbergh movie from 2011. Really got popular again when COVID hit because of how real it
Mm-hmm.
felt. Because it is essentially like a pandemic. Like the gas itself is essentially like a massive disease that everyone contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me that vibes of like a disaster movie by plague vibes. Um, but yeah, again, it's good. It's like here's the thing: the other two don't, in my opinion, don't really match to the level of the first one, because the first one set the standard really high. But they're different. Second one, it's good. Maybe a bit too dark of a comedy, but still pretty good.
Good action in there. It's quirky to see him freaking out and not really know what's going on around him. And yeah, it kind of lifted my mood. I was there for it. I like that splash of action, especially with how kind of mysterious and emotional the first part was.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was thinking it's like, dude, it's like either look behind you or just look at your body. It's like, can
Hmm.
you not? How are you not saying that you're emitting all that you're putting out all this gas?
For
It's
the
like you
longest
wrote all
time, I
this
had
like,
trouble at first. Like I had gotten the impression that he had like an immunity to it, and he was fine. But then eventually it did click in, and I'm not sure if that was the case for you at all, because then that's pretty effective from a storytelling. If we're kind of having the same perspective as this guy that's totally clueless until we're brought into the fold too. So, do you recall when it exactly clicked that he was the weapon?
uh, I think they eventually said it,
Mm-hmm.
so not really, but like
Okay.
I knew this wouldn't end well, but like I
Mm-hmm.
was a bit surprised that it was like a bioweapon countermeasure, and like this side effect was again just omitting a gas that killed everyone. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like part of me thinks that the guy was maybe a bit too naive. It's like again all this gas behind you, and it's like think. It's like where is this gas coming from? It was like riding for miles,
Mm-hmm.
riding for miles. It was everywhere. So it's like, not the smartest guy to be, not the smartest.
No. All right, and I remember watching through it and being like, "Oh gosh, there's not much of this movie left." But then, we get cannon fodder. Did you want to briefly explain? Did you want me to describe the plot, or you want to go for it?
You do it. You do it.
Yeah, this is a fairly simple story. It's about this basically a city where every building and structure has these massive cannons on it. It's like this war society. and it's this little boy, and he grows up in this, and he really looks up to like the major general who's in charge of firing the big cannon. And the style of the art reminded me a lot of Pink Floyd's The Wall, so it was kind of cool to see a little bit more of a scratchy look to this, a little bit more a little different style. And it actually touched a kind of a soft point for me, because we get the story of this kid seeing, the normality of having these big cannons and firing at this faceless enemy. And it reminded me a lot of like how I watched like GI Joe cartoons in the '80s. And being an American, we were very much brought up to be pro-military, America's the best kind of thing. And then as you grow older, you see, whoa, actually war movies are kind of dark and terrifying. So yeah, it's interesting seeing the Japanese perspective kind of on that thought of bringing up a child in that society and them idolizing kind of violence, but then at the same time we see the father, and by the end he looks basically horrified that he's taken part in this whole like shooting process, as he his kids like, oh, I want to be like the general and not like you. And the ending's really interesting, how it almost has like this alien ending where the scanner comes through the room twice and then it fades to memory. So that was kind of a memorable way to round it out. But super cool animation style, very provocative little short. I know you must probably have some interesting things to say.
Uh,
Unless you
as I
hated
said
it.
with Stink Bomb, no, as I said with Stink Bomb, I thought at first that it was my least favorite, but then I got to this one. It's like, again, it's good, but I think that one is my least favorite because maybe like you said, I didn't like, now that the stuff you said, I kind of realize it more than I did on my watch. At first, I thought character and story wise, it didn't have a lot to tell
Yeah, it's pretty
compared to the
hollow.
other two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like getting the point across. So I was more interested in the look of it. Really, like, I think with Magnetic Rose, while Magnetic Rose has the best atmosphere, Cannon Fodder has the best style of them all.
I agree.
The cannons on every single roof at first was like, oh wow, it's like every single roof cannons.
Yeah, a lot of overkill.
It reminded me of steampunk in a way.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the director of this, Katsushiro Otomo, same guy who made Akira. After this, he made a movie called Steam Boy, which kind of is the same like this, but not as good, I would say. It's also a movie where it's a lot of steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
Good animation, very good. Weak story and characters. That one, although that one is feature length, maybe even 2 hours. But yeah, that kind of this was maybe a bit of a slightly better prototype, I would say, because the atmosphere really reminded me of steampunk. The music kind of reminded me of an old game from the time. I don't know why.
I need to flip back through the music. I wasn't able to key in on the music at all throughout this, so yeah, I think I'm missing out.
Like whenever the general who ordered like the fire thing, that his music for some reason really reminded me of that.
And it was so neat to see like the hand-drawn fantasy of what that sequence was within the kid's head. That was clever.
Yeah, but I think when I watched it, I didn't fully pick up on the story of it, because there isn't a lot to it. You basically see the kid go to school and then the dad go to work, and then
come back together at the end and talk about it over dinner.
Yeah, and then the cannon firing, and then going back to dinner, and it's basically all over again, like a normal day.
To be fair, you just watched it, so not as much time to reflect.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think near the end I was confused when the dad didn't have the gas mask before the firing of the cannon. So it's like, where's the gas mask? You're gonna get injured.
Yeah, wouldn't have gotten that emotion, that look of horror in his face with the mask on, I guess. Goodness. All right,
I didn't
let's.
even pick it. I thought it just looked miserable, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like good animation. Character-wise, maybe the lesser of the three, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Interesting. All right, let's do a little wrap up here. Like, I think it's an excellent pack of anime shorts and so provocative, such cool style, each with interesting theming from tragedy to crisis to war. Um, it didn't blow me away, so I would probably go with like a 4.5 star rating, just because it's better than excellent, but it's I wouldn't call it a favorite of mine by any means. How did it pan out in your ratings?
For me, it's a four. Like in about the 881 out of 10. I do my grades out of 100
Okay.
because like at first I thought I didn't really like how Letterboxd used the 5-star system. It just felt um too constrictive in a way. Just really putting you in a
Box.
yeah, really putting you in a box.
Oh, I am
And I
trapped in a
worked out the
box.
grades eventually. Like I worked out eventually had to make the grades work. For me, it's a out of 4 out of 5, 81.
Okay.
It's not my favorite, but it still has some good things to say. Um, but yeah, if anything, I would say watch it for Magnetic Rose. That is the best one.
And I would say the crazy suit on the cover. I mean, although that's similar to the white suit from Stink Bomb, it's kind of a it's not exactly what you get. So I was a little disappointed we didn't get the creepy guy from the cover on in the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was an astronaut, and then like no, it's just the big suit guy from Stink Bomb. By the way, the Blu-ray cover actually is a lot more, probably a lot more fitting.
A
It
genuine,
basically
yeah, for sure.
it contains the opera singer from Magnetic Rose, the kid from Cannon Fodder, and the main guy from Stink Bomb. So that probably fits a lot more compared to the other one, to the normal one.
Hmm.
But to be fair, in the normal poster, you do kind of see the kid and the dad from Cannon Fodder at the bottom, and
Hmm.
then the big guy from Stink Bomb in the center, and then the magnetic rose of the ship for magnetic rose in the background. So that can work too, to be fair.
Definitely the big suited guy definitely was what got me excited to actually check this out. So can't fault it too much, but just wish that would have been there. So yeah, thanks so much, Ronan, for joining me on this podcast. Any socials you'd like to shout out so people can check out your lists and maybe chat with you if they want?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's been fun. Wish we had a bit more time, but oh well.
Never enough time.
Letterboxd is Ronens13, RONENS 13. That's Letterboxd. That's where I update it daily with with relevant rankings and ratings. Sometimes reviews. I actually wanted to review a couple of the stuff I like, some of the releases from last year. So we'll get to it pretty soon. And yeah, as for the animation ranking, it's put a lot of effort into it. Some hot takes for sure. I mean, Memories is now number 101, which almost made it to the top 100. But on the other hand, out of 817, it's still a very respectable place. But yeah,
Cool.
that's where you can find. That's where you can find all the, I think,
All
about the movie industry.
right. All right. So please follow the Average Joe's Movie Club Cast on YouTube and look for my reviews. I'm Justin Peterson on Letterboxd. I hope everyone has a great day. Keep watching movies. Thanks so much, Ronan, for joining me. It was a pleasure getting to talk movies with you. We could do it all day. I'll talk to Joey. Maybe we can get you on our main cast and maybe get you to stay up a little past your bedtime so we can have unlimited talk. So, all right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching and keep watching great movies.
repatriate feeling, spirit is something.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.